occupying a treehouse while wearing a gas mask and camouflage clothing. Domestic terrorist. Arrested while sleeping in a hammock with another defendant. Said accused is also a known member of a prison abolitionist movement. Domestic terrorist. These are from affidavits, from arrest warrant applications. We have samples that we will hand out to you later. Criminally trespassing on posted land, occupying a treehouse and refusing to climb down, resulting in an over 12-hour standoff. Domestic terrorist. We used to call that a sit-in protest. Now it's terrorism. I could go on. I'll give you one more. Arrested while occupying a hammock adjacent to other defendants. Also present on the property during the shooting of a state trooper by an activist. Domestic terrorist for being present. Where does that end? Is anyone who is at a protest liable for everything that happens at a protest now? Are these all domestic terrorists? Is this a law that anyone wants? Is this a rule anyone wants, no matter what side of any political issue you are on? This is untenable. That is the context surrounding Manuel's death. And that is why the family needs answers. So far, we have selected information released from the GBI. They are not answering questions. They are not providing the family with any information to understand what happened in the forest on January 18th. We are here with Manuel's family, Manuel's father, mother, brother. We'll make brief statements to you all because Manuel is not a domestic terrorist. Manuel is a person. Manuel is a kind, was known widely as a compassionate person. I think when you meet the family, you will see where that compassion comes from. Whatever happened in the forest, this family deserves to know. The public deserves to know. Right now, demonstrators are scared to come forward. People who were in that forest on that day are scared to speak to us. And for good reason. They have been threatened. These terrorism charges are meant to send a message. And the message is clear. If you stand in our way, we will take you out of our way. We will not tolerate this dissent. There are plenty of other criminal laws that can be used if anyone has broken a law. There are plenty of crimes that can be charged against any individual who engages in acts of violence. No one condones that. But we cannot ignore this enforcement environment that is starting here in Atlanta and that one day will be used against other groups, maybe your group, maybe someone on the opposite end of the spectrum. This is not what we want, and this is not something that encourages a family, a grieving family, to trust what they are being told. In addition to the family, we'll also have my partner Brian Spears speak about our efforts to communicate with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Jerry Weber is here from the Southern Center for Human Rights. Jerry is a constitutional law scholar who will answer questions and make a brief statement, as well as Kamal Franklin from Community Movement Builders, who will speak to the political mobilization efforts against the construction of Cop City. With that, I will introduce you to Manuel's mother. Could you please say your name and spell it?
We need to talk for his name.
Yeah, for the...
My name is Belkis Terán, Belkis Terán. I am the mother of Manuel Esteban Paez Terán, from whom we are here. The name of Manuel, that comes from Emmanuel, means God with us. Esteban means victorious. Manuel was born in Maracaibo, Venezuela, on April 23, 1996. Therefore, Manuel is a Venezuelan, Maracucho, from Maracaibo. Manuel graduated magna cum laude from Florida State University with a Bachelor of Science Psychology with an associate degree in sociology. Then began his studies in Panama in an integrated program for 2 years in Panama and 2 years in Florida. While in Panama, their participation in the university led there to be an adjunct student of a biology professor, and they thought when the professor asked there to do it as part of his duties. Then also founded and was were president of the environmental club that is still operating. As caretaker of the environmental, they cleaned beaches every week, gave talks to raise awareness about the need to care for the beaches and parks. Manuel was very active in recycling and participated in many activities in the park on weekends with programs for children, adults, and the elderly. We are horrified by all that has happened to Manuel. I never thought that taking care of a park would be a dangerous thing. It would be so dangerous. There are many hidden things, and killing a person who was sleeping in the forest does not make sense to me. Killing a person who was sleeping in the forest does not make sense to me. We are living a horror. It is a social shame that this happened. For me, this unfortunate event shows the decomposition that is in the society. On the other hand, as a family, we are also amazed and grateful for so much love, support, and solidarity that we have received. Manuel worked actively for many years in projects that benefit different communities. During their time as a university student, they developed their organization capacity for a different humanity cause. They touch the life of many people, believers and not believers, lucky and unlucky, hopeful and hopeless, happy and sad. My complaint is that the university teach young people to think about the good, to do good to others, to dream for a better world, to seek alternatives to the old problems, and when they try to put this teaching in practice, they are killed, arrested, and treated like criminals. Treated like criminals for those who should protect them. Most of these activities are university students. All Manuel wanted to do was to protect the forest, preserve the good of the land for all people, create awareness and help organize different communities. They had no malice and no intention of committing illegal acts. They were pacifists and had no intention of violence as a way of defending himself. Manuel was a defender of the forest. Manuel has a heart full of love for people, animals, and the trees. Manuel has a great interest in helping the disenfranchised, the voiceless, those unable to defend themselves. Manuel cared and loved a lot of group of people who are rejected for being different. All human beings were important for them. They were worthy of love, consideration, and solidarity. He tried to solve and mitigate their pain by meeting their needs. Manuel worked with social networks to create awareness by presenting the needs and asking for a financial support. And people respond to their call as much as possible. Manuel always made sure that all the donations would reach those who needed. He never kept money for himself. Manuel worked day and night for the good of others. They were very respectful. They have very good manners, very intellectual, very critical, and they read a lot. They were always with the book. Manuel main concern was the forest. They were suffer a lot when a tree was cut down. They were very sorry when there was destruction in the forest. When they plan an activity for the forest, okay. We have to cry, hug each other, and process our pain, and leave the job of defending the legal part of the lawyer to the lawyer. We will work as a team, but each other on their own. We ask, and I ask the authority to allow us to honor Manuel. We want to hold vigil and private and public event to honor him, their work. As a mother, I am very, very sad, and I will not be able to see any more Manuel, touch him, hug, dare him, feel, smell, hear his voice. But we will keep them in our hearts. I wish Manuel to continue on his ways in the love of God. May God bless him. We pray for our peace. We will continue learning and practice all the good things that Manuel experienced. I am very sorry that there are no more people like them. We are going to honor Manuel by doing good things. We don't like destroy anything. We like to build and to heal. We like to heal the community, and I'm here for that. To heal the people, embrace the people, I love the people. That's what I am here. Thank you.
I want to begin with the biblical greeting, grace and peace from Lord Almighty creator of the universe, and his Son, Jesus Christ, my Lord. It's not easy to be in front of you today after physically losing a child and a special human being, Manuel Paez Terán. We are heartbroken of dark circumstances by which their life was taken from us. I pray full recovery of officer we were told was shot on say that morning. I pray for all individuals unjustly accused of terrorism who, like my child, want to preserve and protect just a piece of forest perfectly created by God. Since Manuel was a child, I remember his natural ability to make friends in just a few minutes. He also was a young man who worried about others, especially those who were indigent, homeless, in the need of care. Manuel was the one who would stop in the middle of the street and give $100 to a needy person, take care of the homeless, help to build the homes destroyed during the recent Florida storm, and build gardens. They profoundly loved his mother and his sibling. Manuel was so worried for the whole humanity. From my point of view, he needed to get a formal life, a formal job, settle down, have a family, have a life. They always respected my point of view as well I respected his. Always respect me, and at times we will agree to disagree. Manuel always was honest with his ideals. A couple of years ago, while talking about what I thought was his future should I be, I told them, Manuel, you cannot worry about the whole world. No puedes abarcar todo el mundo. You need to concentrate in one thing at a time. You are not Greta Thunberg. I was wrong. Manuel was able to reach the whole world. Somehow they followed my advice. Protect the Atlanta forest. Sadly, Manuel was the first environmental that has given his life for his ideals in the United States of America. While Manuel was able to accomplish so much, they were able to do so many things in his short life, guided by his ideals, love, passion, and determination. The Bible says in Romans chapter 8 that the creation is suffering of childbirth pain. The creation is anxious for the redemption of the Lord. Manuel was suffering the same distress than the creation. They cried when a tree was torn down. Manuel was happy looking how a recent planted tree was little by little growing, like a parent happy to see how their children are growing. Manuel was easygoing and caring. They grew up with the teaching of love to our neighbors, forgiveness, and reconciliation. We certain that Manuel will live forever with all of us and those around the world that are meeting him since January 18. Manuel left us a legacy. I will repeat what his mother suggested. If you care about his legacy in any part of the United States or the world that you are listening to this message, please plant a tree in memory of Manuel Esteban Paez Terán. I end now by saying, my son in heaven, Manuel, I see you. I see you.
Absolute honesty, trustworthiness, and reliability in nuclear power plant training, qualification, operations, and maintenance, demonstrating moral courage to accept responsibility for one's actions, placing responsibility to the nation and Navy ahead of loyalty to individuals. I served aboard the USS Maryland out of Kings Bay, Georgia, in a community commonly referred to as nukes, short for nuclear propulsion. Integrity can mean a lot of things, so the Navy standardized it. It is important everyone in the world can trust our reactors 100%. They are, so go Navy. Nuclear power, you see, doesn't have good PR. Just ask HBO, the Chernobyl show. The Navy engraved this definition into us daily and practically. While I served it on a deterrent patrol on the USS Tennessee, one of my shipmates was kicked out for falsifying his knowledge of a minor system he would never interact with. We took this very seriously. I can't help but mention my favorite watchstanding principle, forceful backup. You see, our sailors are also required to take the right action no matter what. If a senior officer was placing the reactor in danger, I could technically punch him in the face. I just needed to be right. Now granted, reactor operators are usually nerdy, so that never happened. But anyways, I don't see integrity in the police or forceful backup. Nukes can't afford to get away with, well, not all nukes are bad. It would cripple our military. Calling protesters only charged with trespassing misdemeanor as terrorists is not absolute honesty and trustworthiness. Raise your hand if you know of any terrorists known for their infamous trespassing. We have been lied to. That is the truth. My call to action goes to the police officers. Find your moral courage and place your nation over loyalty to individuals. Yeah. Forcefully stop each other from killing civilians. Yeah. There was a little bit of a narrative that the cops had to fear retribution from the forest defenders, which I say with love, they're all a bunch of tree nerds, okay? Yeah. And so let's look at some statistics. In 2022, police killing civilians, 1,176. Cops shot in action, 64. Guardian and Washington Post, if you want to check my references. Meanwhile, the police are a danger just to themselves. 239 police suicides in accordance with policechiefmagazine.org for 2016. I also ask any officers brave enough to contact my lawyers with any and all information. Stop just following orders. Yeah. There's 90 million reasons why Cop City is evil. There's also 90 million reasons why it is still proceeding. There will be no integrity lessons in Cop City. Combat troops don't operate like Navy nukes. They follow orders without thinking. Cop City is creating a police officer for its buyers, the corporations. Do you think homeless people want militarized cops? I know my submarine brother, killed by a murder-suicide public shooting in Wisconsin, so not my sibling, could not have been saved even if SEAL Team 6 was defending that area. Cop City is worth $90 million because it is a facility that will train the police to protect the corporations that fund it.
That's right.
It will allow our government to abandon us because the donors will be happy with their new protection. I am in so much pain missing my best friend. I kind of have social anxiety. I know I was a little hyped up, but I don't really have many friends, and I was fine with just Manny. Even though I had to share Manny to their cause, I loved them so much, and now my family is being put through this.
Good morning. My name is Brian Spears. I'm partners with Jeff Filipovitz, who opened this press conference. Manuel Terán's body was released to his family last Tuesday by the DeKalb County Medical Examiner's Office. A private autopsy was conducted on Tuesday afternoon. As a result of the private autopsy, we learned the shocking news that it appears that Manuel was shot over 12 times and was shot by several different firearms. Multiple officers riddled his body with bullets. Long before learning this shocking news, our law firm sent requests for information about Manuel's death to all of the agencies involved in the police action of January 18th. And On January 30th, we hand-delivered a letter to the director of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, asking them to meet with Manuel's parents to explain what had happened to their son. We have not received any response whatsoever from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Our goal is to get answers for Manuel's mother and father and family. What happened to their son and why? The GBI is heading up this investigation. The parents are here today asking again for that meeting with the GBI. And we want a release of all audio and video recordings, including any drone footage of the shooting in the area in which he died. And we want that investigative report. Manuel is dead. You cannot charge a dead man with a crime. There is no reason to withhold this information, and there is no reason to not meet with the family. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jerry Weber, and I'm Senior Counsel for the Southern Center for Human Rights. We are here in support of Mr. Terán's family, their desire, their need, and their right for answers. Atlanta seeks to build the third largest police training center in the nation, a militarized center that will be used likely by every single officer that is currently policing these protests. Since every single officer policing these protests has a vested interest in these protests failing, the need for impartiality and transparency in this policing is paramount. We have seen neither. The highest levels of law enforcement, including the APD Assistant Chief, are trumpeting pretextual stops of citizens filming in the area, and officers are demanding those filming in the area to delete footage. Law enforcement is claiming that anyone who came from out of state to the protest is more likely to be a domestic terrorist. That sure sounds a lot like something you might have heard in 1965 on Bloody Sunday on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Somehow, with officers wearing body cameras now more than ever, we have seen zero video of the shooting death of Mr. Terán. We are seeing zero on transparency and clear bias in policing that should trouble anyone. Mr. Terán's family deserves the facts. They deserve the answers. And the citizens of Atlanta and DeKalb County also deserve them too. Thank you.
My name is Kamal Franklin, K-A-M-A-U, Franklin, F-R-A-N-K-L-I-N. We're here today. I represent the organization Community Movement Builders to stand with the family about this tragedy. So I really offer my heartfelt condolences to you and yours. Manuel Tortuguita was killed, shot over 12 times. Shot so many times, we can't even say exactly how many times he was shot. It was death by firing squad. It was a murder. We feel that Andre Dickens has blood on his hands.
That's right.
Governor Kemp has blood on his hands.
That's right.
The Atlanta Police Department has blood on their hands.
That's right.
The troopers who shot there have blood on their hands. We find it incredibly, not even difficult to believe, impossible to believe, that the Atlanta Police Department, the DeKalb Police Department, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, state troopers, SWAT teams, some even say FBI were in there, that no one had a body cam on. No one had any imagery whatsoever of the killing of this young person. That means it was a setup. The Atlanta Police Department is required to have their body cams on. But yet they forgot doing a killing spree or doing a shooting of 13, 14 bullets. It is impossible to believe the narrative of the police, not just in this case, but in case after case across the country, What brought people out into the forest, into the streets, to demonstrate against Cop City has been the police murders.
That's right.
Over and over and over again across this country of black and brown people in particular. What brought people out into the streets has been the lies told by the police in their reports about how these killings took place, only to find out later that they were lying. Only to find out later there was videotape, there was body cameras, there were people filming on their phones that shows that they were lying. These demonstrations since the very beginning were criminalized by the Atlanta Police Department and by the mayor's office. Since the very beginning, there are arrests made by people walking and doing what you would call peaceful protests in the street, demonstrating on sidewalks. Those protests broken up, over 17, 18 people arrested. No one reports it as violence by the police.
That's right.
Protesters thrown on the ground, pepper sprayed, harassed. It was the logical conclusion that they would wind up killing somebody because the tactics that they employed since the very beginning have been violent against protesters. We know that Cop City is just a place where they're going to train not only Georgia police officers, but officers around the country. 43% are going to be trained, or the training happening is going to be of officers from outside of Georgia. They don't call those folks outside agitators. Those folks are coming here to learn training that is militarized by its very nature, that is meant to not only over-police black and brown communities in the United States, but it's also meant to shut down protests and movements against police violence. That is the very nature of what this is. They want to shut down movements in this country against police violence. So when we talk about Cop City, we're not talking about some benign training center where the cops are going to learn training. The cop that killed Rayshard Brooks had over 2,000 hours. 2,000 hours of training on cultural sensitivity, on de-escalation, but yet he shot him in the back. My assumption is these cops in the woods had thousands of hours of training, but yet over a dozen bullets took this young person's life. So we know that this Cop City idea is nothing but a way to militarize police here in Atlanta and across the country. And every time they bring up the idea of Cop City, there's going to be protesters, there's going to be organizing, there's going to be agitators, there's going to be forest defenders, because we will do what we can to protect our communities to stop Cop City from happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. If you all have any questions, the family will not be answering questions today, but if there are any questions for any of the attorneys, we're happy to field those.
Yeah, can someone respond to the GBI accusing Mr. Manuel of having a weapon? He bought the weapon allegedly 2 years ago and fired that weapon at a trooper. Can anyone respond to that?
Yeah, it doesn't tell us what happened. It is a single fact without context that tells us nothing of the narrative of what happened, how things unfolded on that day. It's a justification that they want people to draw conclusions from, but that doesn't tell us what happened. And we're not in a position to respond further because we have no further information from the GBI.
What's your response to the DeKalb County DA recusing herself from prosecuting and investigating this officer-involved shooting?
I think that was the proper move. I think that there needs to be an independent and unbiased investigation into the entire circumstances that should focus not only on whatever shooting may have been done by our young deceased, but also by the officers. Needless to say, that number of shots into his body is only the start of the story. And as Jeff pointed out, knowing that the report is that a shot was fired that unfortunately wounded another person does not give us the truth. We need that. We're not here today because we can sit in judgment of what happened. We're here today because we need facts.
Excuse
Who
me.
can be trusted by the family and its attorneys to do this investigation?
Well, we'll learn it when we see it. We're not in charge of that. It's a fair question, but of course we can't know the answer to that. I wouldn't name a person. It's straightforward enough to have another prosecutor in charge of the investigation. Well, excuse me, reviewing the investigation done by the GBI. I have no doubt that they'll continue to remain in charge of it, regardless of what prosecuting authority they submit their report to.
So you would be confident in the GBI's findings?
We have to know what the findings are. It is not inconsistent with the history of my work with the GBI that there are some matters about which they can make a mistake. So I'm not going to opine that we would trust what the outcome of their investigation will be. We have to see it. But in the meantime, we believe that has to run its course, and we believe that the family is entitled to have the information as it's available to come from them.
Were there any other injuries?
Are you requesting a sit-down interview?
Yes, with the GBI, whoever they have to designate to do it. We don't expect the director to meet with us, but we certainly expect that out of just the courtesy that is owed to a family that's grieving, that they be told what can be told to them at this stage. And we believe that that's important and should be done.
Beginning of the press conference, you said that you said that it was shot more than 12 times, and it was more than 13 times, and later it was more than 12 times. So we presume that we don't know for sure how many times?
I don't know what the results will be from the DeKalb County Medical Examiner's office autopsy. The report that we received from our family sponsored separate autopsy was that he was shot between 12 and 13 times, possibly more. So there's not an exactitude to that.
And multiple
of course,
calibers, you said?
Excuse me?
Multiple calibers, you said?
Multiple handgun. Yes, multiple handgun.
Anything else about that autopsy report that you guys are releasing or plan to release this thing?
We do plan to release the results. We don't have a written report, and we plan to release that. But we don't expect that in the immediate offing. We would ask, of course, well, we're seeking to get the autopsy, the preliminary autopsy report from the DeKalb County Medical Examiner's office, and we've been in contact with them separately to try to get that.
The GBI had said that no body camera video existed in the press release you guys sent out on Friday. You guys said that there would be possibly audio or other video of drones. I mean, do you guys have reason to believe there may be other pieces of evidence that they have that's not body camera video?
It was a specifically worded statement from the GBI about what types of video were available. We know that drones were in use. We know that helicopters were in use. We don't know. But we know that the denial was of body cams and dash cams. So we're asking, is there anything else?
This morning
And if I may, let me just follow up on that. We also know that according to the environmental assessment prepared by Terracon Consultants for the Atlanta Police Foundation, a report that was issued and published in April of 2021 declared that at Cop City they had in place surveillance cameras and motion detectors. We want to know whatever can be learned, and so we're open to receiving that, but we're not satisfied that the partial explanation of absence of body cams on individual officers is the full answer.
And what's next for you guys if you don't have this information? What's next?
Ladies first here.
What's next for you guys if you don't get this information?
Well, we'll get it. It'll just take time. And so there can be we don't have a plan for what we do after we have the information. As I say, we're not sitting here in judgment because we can pretend that we know all of what occurred. Our plan is to do a thorough investigation and consult with the family and act accordingly.
The FBI has a long history of persecuting environmental activists going back to 1990 with the bombing of Judy Berry and Daryl Cherney. What evidence do you have that the FBI was involved with the shooting?
We don't have that evidence. The problem is we lack evidence of everything that has happened with the
The FBI has been mentioned. Where did that come from?
Yeah, the FBI was mentioned in the GBI press release as one of the law enforcement agencies involved in clearing the forest. we don't have specific information about what specific agencies were on the ground who confronted Manuel.
But that'll be part of your request, right?
Yes, we want to know everything that happened.
Along with the ballistics to see if it matches the officer that got killed, that maybe came from law enforcement's weapon.
Well, thankfully the officer was not killed
I'm sorry.
and is hopefully recovering. Yes, we want to know all information.
Was Manuel known to carry a gun as far as y'all know, and the GBI's contention that he fired on officers first, does that make sense to you and the family?
We don't know if it makes sense. We need a story. We need to know facts from witnesses about what happened.
Have you talked with somebody else, like a witnesses, when this occurred? Do you have any witnesses already? You talk face to face with them?
Everyone who was in the forest on that day was arrested, charged with domestic terror. Well, I don't know if it was everyone, but there were about 6 or 8 who were charged with domestic terrorism. There were some of the charges that I read to you. These people are not in a position to come forward and share information given the climate of enforcement that is against them. And so we would like anyone who is a witness to contact us, but we are not prepared to discuss anything beyond that.
As we stand here this morning, the GBI conducted what they call as another clearing operation of the area. We're standing here talking about the previous operation. I wanted to see what your reaction is given what happened.
I think I would defer. Kamau, you want to say a word about that?
I mean, quickly, we feel like this harassment and intimidation, again, of forest defenders, of organizers and activists is continual and ongoing. So we're not surprised that it's happening. We had reports ourselves a few seconds before we got here that these raids were happening. And so for us, it's all about the safety of the defenders. We want to make sure that they are safe. But again, people are going to protest. They're going to do civil disobedience and direct action, and they supposedly have a right to do it. The same people who say that they love Dr. King, who is involved in civil disobedience and direct action, are the same people now charging these folks with domestic terrorism.
Do you believe that any of your people were still out there today when this raid occurred?
I only know that there were potentially other forest defenders out there, but we are not 100% sure. We don't have enough information on that.
Thank you.
All right, folks, this has been a trying morning for the family, so we'd like to wrap it up. We can do one more question.
Can you give us the name of the independent doctor who conducted the autopsy?
Not at this time. We want to respect that doctor's privacy for the time being, and the complete autopsy report is still in progress.
Can we get the name and spelling of the 2 gentlemen who spoke, please?
Yes. Yeah, you want to, Yoel, name and spelling.
Joel, J-O-E-L, last name P as in Peter, A, E, and Z as in zebra.
Daniel.
My name's Daniel. My sibling and I share every other name except I don't use the second last name, so it's actually not Mr. or Terán for my sibling. It's Paez Terán. I'm American, so I don't go by Venezuelan tradition.
So that's Daniel Paez.
His dad's name is Paez.
How do you spell your last name?
Filipivits.
And your first name?
Jeff.
Who just spoke before?
This is Brian Spears. That's Brian Spears. Jerry Weber, Geroy, and Kamau Franklin, Kamau.
Franklin.
Thank you. All right, thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
What's your name one more time for us, for the record?
I'm sorry?
Pronounce your name for us.
Filipivits.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Tortuguita! Tortuguita! Tortuguita!